Buffalo's gonna win it home.
The Bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout.
We've seen why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, baby. Come on, come on.
No one
Come on
circles the
and
wagon
shout.
like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
All right, and we are here again with a special edition. We told you last week that we have a special edition, our 53-man roster prediction. This is the Overdue Bills podcast, and we are here, man. Listen, we're here for you for all your needs, for this upcoming Bill season. We're excited. And my guy, yours truly, Matt, a.k.a. Matty Ice, a.k.a. All Black Matt, a.k.a. Chef D. Matt, what's up with you, man?
Yes, sir. Nothing, man. Just ready to, try to see how I compare against Young Bean. Big cut down day tomorrow. I just, I got some guys that, how I would do it if I was a GM. So I'm interested to compare it.
Absolutely. Listen, we are excited, Matt. Our trusty guy, trusty insider, we're coming, this year with our first annual 53-man roster prediction. We're excited. You see it. Listen, we got new layouts. We got new everything. But before we get into the nitty gritty, we have to let you know who this podcast is sponsored by. Matt, please let the people know.
Yes, sir. This special episode and every episode is sponsored by none other than Buffalo Wing Kings. Being from Buffalo, there's two things the guys here at the Overdue Bills podcast know, and that's Bills football and that's wings. And, the first choice and the best choice is Buffalo Wing Kings. At Wing Kings, it's Wings 101 with their beloved Wing of the Month special and 101 different flavors. They're sure to school any other wing place around. Opening a new location during football season in the University District. Be on the lookout for that. Available for all Bills games, parties, celebrations, just anytime you want some wings, go head over to Wing Kings. Stop on over to their Elmwood Village location at 484 Elmwood Avenue or give them a call at 716-248-1427 and find out why they say and we know that they are the best wings in town, hands down. And additionally, tell them that we here at the Overdue Bills podcast sent you and get 10% off your whole order. That's, wing prices are going up. The wings are worth it. Go get your wings today.
Absolutely. Please go get your wings today. Buffalo Wing Kings got you. Overdue Bills support you. You know the vibes. Yes. Listen, let's get into this show, man. But before we do, real quickly, housekeeping. Listen, we got merch. You see the T-shirts. Listen, the Bills game is coming up. It's coming up in about a week and a half. We had our last preseason game. We're excited. I know you need your shirts. I know you need your Bills gear. Please hit us up for the merch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those platforms. We got you. Check out the website, overduebillspod.com. We're excited about this season. Let's get into this 53-man prediction. Matt, the people, we have a graphic up even for the offense at this particular point. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each position individually, talk about some notable cuts, talk about, some of the thinking behind, or at least what we think the thinking behind, some of these cuts and some of these players that we kept. So we're just going to go to the, position that really needs no introduction. It's our quarterback position. We're going to just start there because it's really the easiest sort of, position we have. So, Matt, talk about the quarterback position and talk about who you feel is going to get cut and who you feel is going to be retained.
So as you guys can see up on the screen, we're going to start with this is definitely the easiest cut down, at least for me. I'm sure it'll be for Bean too. But we got Josh Allen, our QB1 is on the no cut list. And then we got Mitch Trubisky, man. We talk about it on the show. We probably have, if not the best backup, probably a top 3 backup in the league with Mitch. You feel kind of, I don't want to say comfortable if Josh Allen goes down that we have, a guy who's going to come in and be Josh Allen, but we do have a formidable guy back at QB2. So that I have them just keeping 2 quarterbacks. Jake Fromm, he was starting to catch a little wind. He got his first taste of football right in this preseason. I think he's going to get on the cut list, and then hopefully he clears waivers and spend another year on the practice squad. He just didn't get enough reps, and he's not going to come in and beat any of those guys who have got the reps over the years. And then same thing with Davis Webb. He's going to be on the cut list for me too.
So, Matt, even with the COVID situation going on, you don't think that we're going to keep at least, another quarterback?
Well, I think that they're going to be on the practice squad. Okay. So I don't think we're going to keep them on the roster. We're going to save that roster spot for a harder position group that we will get into later in this show.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure. I don't know if this year, and apologies to everybody, because I know Fromm was that COVID designate that had to be in Lithuania or wherever Fromm was. You know what I mean? Wherever Fromm was. But I'm not sure if that's the case this year. Do you know if that's the case? We don't have that designation.
We don't have that designation.
So we don't have that designation. So I mean, unfortunately, but we'll see how that unfolds. Hopefully, we never even have to talk about this because Josh Allen is going to stay COVID free. He's not going to go near anybody that has COVID, and he's going to be here for the rest of the season. So let's just hope that. But Matt, I'm interested personally. I am interested. Really and I'm just gonna go to it. I'm not gonna like hold it off. I'm gonna go straight to it because I got some questions about the line in a second. But let's go to wide receiver first. Let's go to wide receiver because this is what the people really want to know. Because this preseason, we've seen a lot of flashes from a lot of our wide receivers, right? Yes. And we got some players that we had last year who some of the Buffalo Bills faithful is fond of that you probably may talk about maybe even right now. So, Matt, let's talk about the wide receiver positions. And first, before you get to the tried and true, let's deal with the notable cuts we have because there's some notable people out there, right?
Well, I mean, not necessarily for the notable cuts for receiver. I mean, we got Tanner Gentry, Josh Allen's old teammate, Brandon Powell, Steven Sims Jr., who they brought in last week, and they wanted to kind of see how he would do at kick return, just in a case that both Stevenson and McKenzie were hurt. And then Isaiah Hodgins is just another guy you feel bad for him because he never really gets his shot. So I think they're going to designate him to the IR just to be able to keep him around. You know what I mean? I don't think they're just going to outright cut him, but he's going to be on the initial cut list.
Okay.
But the keep list, I have us keeping 7 receivers, which is
very interesting.
It is very interesting. But the thing that makes it so interesting is Isaiah McKenzie's injury. So I think Brandon Beane will go into that, keeping a guy like Marquez Stevenson, who was, on my bubble, and I'm sure he's on everybody else's bubble, and as far just because of the return game. So if Isaiah McKenzie ends up being out for a long length of time, we don't have the luxury of Andre Roberts anymore, and I don't think they want to put their all-pro safety and Micah Hyde back there. So I think you keep a guy like Marquez Stevenson like that, and then we got the camp favorite. Jake Kumaro. I don't think Bean wants a guy like that to go to the practice squad because there's, a team we played last week. Aaron Rodgers loves that guy, and they're having issues with injuries, and so are many other teams around the league. I don't think he'll clear waivers, so it won't be a guy we can just designate to the practice squad. So that's kind of, and then the other 5 were, essentially locks. With Diggs, Beasley, Gabe Davis. Shout out to Gabe Davis. He showed his flashes of what he can really do the other day. And Isaiah McKenzie, of course. It's just going to be interesting to see how long he's going to be out, if any time, because obviously he could end up getting designated to the IR, and that could free up another slot. But I don't think it will free up another slot. I think he'll use it on another player in a different position group.
So let me ask you this, Matt, because we know our editor-in-chief, Mike, last year, he told us that, he hates the run game and we're a passing team. And obviously you've seen, and if you watch, hopefully you watch our show, Overdue Bills podcast, earlier, and definitely go check that out. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that. Check out the show because we talk about the game against the Packers, the preseason game. But Matt, we saw Josh Allen, he played, and we just threw the ball. And I know we were trying to get the cobwebs out, but literally we did not run the ball at all. No. Realistically, all of our screens got blown up, but the passing was the thing. And do you think that the reason, because it's not necessarily typical to keep 7 wide receivers. It's not typical. But do you think because we're so pass heavy, and we do have like a Emmanuel Sanders who is injury prone, or at least was, Diggs is not necessarily healthy. Hopefully he'll be healthy beginning of the season. And Beasley, God knows this COVID situation. Obviously, Isaiah McKenzie. Do you think because we rely on the pass so heavily that we're keeping 7, or it's just, Bean has no choice, that these are just the best 7 guys?
I honestly think that I would say 50-50. I mean, because we are a super pass heavy team, and we'll get into another position group, or we can just kind of get into it now, the tight end group.
Yeah.
We don't run a lot of double tight end sets. We run a lot of 4 receiver sets, right? Or, so you got to keep guys who can line up in those positions. And I think, we are a pass heavy team, and, Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball 40 times a game, especially after we just gave him 150 million, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that it plays into it about 50-50, and then obviously depth. And then guys have been so good in camp and just with their reputation around the league, you can't put a guy like a Jay Kummerow on the practice squad because they'll get scooped up. They're not going to clear waivers.
Absolutely. Interesting. You've seen it. The tight end position, Knox, Hollister. Do you want to say anything else about that, or is that just cut and dry?
So it's I was gonna throw Tommy Sweeney on there, but I believe that he's gonna end up on the IR again. He's just he's another guy who just cannot stop being injured. I guess he has a foot element that may keep him out 4 to 5 weeks. So I think he'll start the season on the IR,
right, and
they'll reevaluate later on. But I think just for the sake of keeping another position group deep, or keep adding another player on like that, just for the initial 53 cut down, I think we're just going to stick with the 2.
I like it. I like Knox. I like Hollister. Hollister shows some promise in the preseason. Knox, hopefully, as you've seen even in the preseason game against the Packers, he's just going to have yards just because everybody else is so good around him, right?
Yes.
He literally is left wide open, sitting in the corner. Josh Allen, safety valve, boom, he can get 10 yards here and there. So shout out to the tight ends. And before we get to the nitty gritty, before we get to the line of scrimmage, I do want to talk about running back, Matt, because you do have quite a few running backs. And I didn't think, or at least, who knows, but you are a trusty insider. I thought we may keep 4, but you're saying we're keeping 5. So, Matt, just go through it and let us know your thinking with that.
Well, so the thinking was the 3 locks, right, which is our Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and Reggie Gilliam. Now, Reggie Gilliam, I lumped him into the running back group, obviously, because he's the fullback, right? Not obviously, but
he is.
Yeah. So those were the locks for me, because those are the Devin Singletary. I think he ran the ball 10 times in a row the first game. They want to show what he can do. Zach Moss is obviously going to get carries. He's going to get goal line touches, and Gilliam too. Then the other 2. I know a couple of weeks ago I said Matt Breida was cut for me, but that was before Antonio Williams was fumbling and showing kind of his youth out there, and showing maybe not so much like a third down guy or a pass catching guy, and that's where I think Breida makes a team over him. And then we had Taiwan Jones. We talked about the 3 facets of the game. You got to have your special teamers. I think he's just too good on special teams to same thing, not be able to clear waivers. He'll make another team pretty easily. I think so.
Absolutely. He's a great special team guy. And there's a defensive guy that you're going to talk about who is a great special teams person as well, who I think that's the reason why he made the team. But I like it. And really for me, when you said that before, Breida in this last preseason game, the change of pace he has is just it's just too much, right, for us to just let him go, right? On those third downs, I think Breida's going to have at least 3 touchdowns. Maybe even more, simply just off a broken player screen booming. I think he can take it to the house. He has that much speed. He can get to the outside. So I personally like him for that. But I think it's clear cut, who we have, obviously, at the running back position. I think that's solid.
Yes.
But for me, Matt, it's the guys at the line of scrimmage, man. And and if you watch the show, everybody, at least you should know that I've been very, I'll say pessimistic about our offensive line, and primarily because obviously the backups were playing. They were horrible. And there are some people on the list that I may or may not agree with. But, Matt, let's just go. I want to go to guard and center, right? I just
Okay.
want to go to guard and center first. Let's go to the
Yeah.
interior and work our way outside. So, Matt, let's see. You got some interesting characters on here. So let me hear your thought process about these guards and centers.
Okay, so yeah, we got guards and centers. You know, I like the same thing. I dealt with the locks first. We're gonna go Mitch Morse, Cody Ford is obviously a lock, and then John Feliciano. We just paid him to come back.
Absolutely.
Those are my lock guys, and then Ryan Bates and Ike Bodker were my other two. They just they have experience with the team at the position here. Ryan Bates can go in and be a center. Mitch Morse has had concussion issues throughout the years. The notable cut for me was Jameel Douglas. He can come in. I think they'll designate him to the practice squad if he clears waivers. But I just think that same thing. It was just you didn't want to keep too many of the interior guys, even though I only have us keeping 4 outer guys too. But with the youth we have there, with the experience we have there, it just wasn't worth keeping an extra guy to kind of, throw aside another guy on the other side of the ball, which is what we'll get into next. And then another guy, which, is kind of disappointing is Jack Anderson. He's a draft pick, usually draft picks, they kind of keep him on the roster initially, but I think it's going to be another guy who's going to get, he just struggled all preseason and then didn't really have a great camp. So I think he's going to get designated to the practice squad if he clears waivers, and then they'll give him some time to develop since we did spend a draft pick on him.
Interesting. So Matt, let's go to the offensive tackles because I keeping only 9 linemen is, with everything going on, COVID and injuries and things of that nature. I don't know. I don't know if somebody else is going to get cut from another team who we're, keying on that may or may not get a position. I think that is possible. But I do agree that from the people who we have on our team, I think that this is what, Bean is going to go with. So just talk about the offensive tackles, if you will. Yeah,
so offensive tackles, got our guy D-Doc and, Darrell Williams. They're my obvious locks here. Then you got Tommy Doyle and Spencer Brown, which are two, big draft. Spencer Brown got a lot of reps in the preseason, and he held his own against guys like Khalil Mack.
He did.
He's not gonna come in and start, obviously, but he'll be a good guy to come in if somebody were to go down, And then Tommy Doyle, just same thing. He didn't play great in the preseason, but he's feasible, and I think they're going to keep him on just for a number perspective here, because you can't obviously cut more guys. Like I think 9 is like your minimum here.
Yeah.
Most guys keep 10, 11, but I think 9 is like the minimum for sure.
And I'm not mad at Tommy Doyle nor Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown showed some promise. It's your heart. With coaching, I think we could coach him up, and we need depth at the position for sure.
Yes.
I'm just glad that Bobby Hart is not on the team. He was one of the worst linemen I've ever seen in my life. So that's just a blessing within itself. But that's your offense, right? That's our offense.
Sir.
And obviously, we have another side of the ball. But before we do that, we do have another sponsor. We do have another sponsor, and we're excited because these people, they deal with a lot of things, and we have some dogs on our defense, and they deal with those too. So Matt, please let the people know about Buffalo Pet Supply.
Yeah, so this segment, I guess the defensive side of the ball segment, is going to be brought to you by Buffalo Pet Supply. Do you have a pet? Are you looking into getting a pet, or know someone who has a pet? And there's only one place to send them for everything to make that pet live its best life. Buffalo Pet Supply. Specializing in fish, small animals, and reptiles, the knowledgeable staff at Buffalo Pet Supply can get you set up or maintain whatever setup you have going on for them. Stop on down and see the family-owned and operated place over at 1345 Military Road in Kenmore, or give them a call at 716-874-1951. And same deal, tell them the Overdue Bill sent you and get 10% off your complete order.
Absolutely. Shout out to Buffalo Pet Supply. The vibes. So listen, y'all said we got the defense up, man. We're excited, man. We're really excited about our new graphics. We out here.
Yeah.
We making moves out here. We definitely making moves out here, and definitely an interesting list. Definitely an interesting list. But Matt, if you will, let's start with the cornerback position. Let's start with the cornerback position.
Going with the corners.
I do. I want to go here. Because it's a lot of notable people, a few cuts that we need to talk about. So Matt, let's go straight because there's a few locks at the cornerback position. But Matt, talk about the cornerback position in this 53-man roster.
Yeah, so obviously we got our 4 locks at the cornerback position. It's going to be guys around the team for the past couple of years. You got Trey, obviously, Levi, and Dane Jackson, who have been in the fight for the number 2 corner all training camp. Looks like Levi gained that edge in that one, and then also Taiwan Johnson. Those are my 4 locks. And then we got. It was pretty tough to do, but my other 2 guys that made the team are Cam Lewis and Saran Neo. Now Cam Lewis was actually kind of a borderline lock for me because in all the games he played, he got the start in 2 games. He didn't let up pretty much, really didn't let up anything. And also, the only time he went out for like a cramp in the Bears game. It was like 100 degrees at Soldier Field, so he didn't really have any issues with any injuries or anything like that. And he's been in the system for a while, so he's in that kind of position. A guy who's been around for a while is definitely better to keep along. Now, Saran Neo didn't have a great preseason for me,
right?
But he just same deal. He had a little bit more experience than guys like Nick McLeod and Rashad Wildgoose, who I have probably getting cut and sent down to the practice squad if they clear waivers. I don't see why they wouldn't clear waivers. But that Saran Neo was kind of like a bubble pick for me. And I think if Wildgoose or Nick McLeod, I know he had the interception in the one game. If they had a little bit better of a preseason or, made a couple bit more flashes, I think that they would have been on over a Saran Neo.
I think with Saran Neo, let me just say this because when I talked about when you talk about Taiwan for the running back position, when I watched the preseason, Saran Neo was everywhere on special teams, right?
Yeah.
He was a dog for me, and I assume that obviously we saw his cornering. I mean his defensive skills, at least as far as covering somebody, is not necessarily the best, but he can tackle. He's a good tackle cornerback, and he's really good on special teams. He was everywhere. I seen his number, so that's why I would keep him. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, no, and that's another part that goes into it. I'm just thinking from a pure corner standpoint.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
But so I mean, shouts out to them. I like Wild Goose. At least I like his name. It's unfortunate. But that's neither here nor there. That's the game, and he may get picked up by somebody else. I think he had a few.
I want to say, and if not, he will be on the practice squad, and will that position. We've had issues with that position for the past few years, so he may get his chance to get called up, or just keep doing his thing in practice, and end up getting called up before the season because he was one of our draft picks. So they're not just gonna throw him by the wayside. I don't think. Absolutely.
So shouts out to them. And so let's go with our special teams, Matt, because these are locks. There's really nothing. Yeah, really especially
we don't really got to talk about it. Bass Money that I don't know. I guess I just made that nickname.
But he is money. I love Bass. I love
Bass. He is Bass. Obviously, we got Matt Hawk. I think this is how you pronounce his last name. And then Reed Ferguson, the long snapper. So that's we don't have to talk anymore about that.
We don't. And shout out to Ferguson. We seen Ebenezer have to be the long snapper, and it wasn't necessarily a pretty sight. So he's a lock to say the least.
Sure.
But Matt, let's stay in our defensive backs. Let's go to safety because really I wouldn't say this was necessarily easy. Because it wasn't, but Matt, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
So our 2 locks were definitely Micah and J-Po.
Without question.
Easily they're locks. Another guy, Poyer. Didn't make the top 100 again. I don't understand that how he's not. He's been. We'll talk about that another time, but. he's a lock to make the roster, obviously. Then we got DeMar Hamlin. He looked good in the reps that he got, and I think he overshadowed the other young guys. And then friend of the show, not being biased here, but he also looked good. Jaquan Johnson, he looked great.
Absolutely.
The first game in on almost every tackle, doing everything he had to do. So no argument for me when he makes the team. But then, a guy that I know McDermott and Bean were pretty high on early was Josh Thomas, just because of how, the physical being that he is back there. I just don't think that he did enough to make the 53. But those, and then Tariq Thomas, those guys, same deal. So I think they're gonna get designated down. I think hopefully they'll clear waivers and be able to be on the practice squad, because I know with COVID you can keep more guys on the practice squad too. So that's another bonus for guys who may not make the roster.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I think that keeping four safeties is pretty much what we should do. But Matt, if you can, let's talk about the defensive ends. There's been a lot of talk about the D ends, right? A lot of talk about our D ends, and for me, I think that it's a loaded position. It was definitely a loaded position. A lot of people vying for spots. So Matt, let's because obviously we had some locks. Like we just picked some people, in the 2021 draft, and we had some locks, and obviously people we already had paid. So Matt, just get into that, and then just go down the list and tell us how you feel about it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like night and day from this year and last year. We didn't have such depth at these positions.
Not at all.
So for Brandon Bean to say that his phones were ringing off the hook, that he was gonna, look into the medical team and make sure that we can part with one of them, because he's been getting so many calls about that position. And inevitably we knew, today he actually traded Daryl Johnson to his old boys in Carolina for a 6th-round draft pick. He was either that or I actually had him making the team over one of the guys, but that actually saved a spot for one of the guys that I have making it now. So, but we knew that it was going to be tough to cut down those positions. So for us to have that kind of depth and have the talent at that position now is like night and day.
Absolutely.
But so the locks for me were obviously Jerry Hughes, the cap, pretty much the old head, the captain of the defense. Greg Russo, 1st-round draft pick, Boogie Basham right after that. And then Epinesa were definitely my locks, because, we spent the draft pick on him last year, and obviously he looked a lot better, with the reps. He just looks like night and day. And then Mario Addison, I didn't put him yet because he was like, he may have been traded. So I wasn't too sure about that, but he's also a lock for me. And then the tough cut here the tough keep for me was F.A. Obata. I mean, he's a big dude. He looked good with the reps that he got. And then it was just a numbers kind of thing. I didn't know if we were going to keep 5 there or it was Darrell Williams definitely leaving got him a spot to me.
Right.
And then he got another guy in the defensive tackle position a spot also. So we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, the F.A. Obata is my other pick. And then they're going to cut Mike Love, who was the other guy at defensive end there.
I like it. I like the depth.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's 4 locks.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's actually that's a good thing for our defenses, because we definitely need a pass rush. And I'm excited about that. So let's go to our defensive tackles, because there's definitely been some questions about our defensive tackles. A lot of people have been talking about there are certain players that we had on our team who people, have been talking like will probably get cut. But I see that you have this person on here, and I'm not going to necessarily single him. I'm just going to let you go through it and tell us how you feel about it, man.
Yeah, so the locks here for me were Starr and Ed Oliver, right? And then Harrison Phillips was pretty much a lock, but the only issue for me was the injuries, right?
Right.
So I thought that maybe he may get like an IR reservation to save a spot for Justin Zimmer was the big question mark, I think, for everybody. But when he got in the game, he looked fast. He looked like he was all over everything. Screenplays. He was trying to blow everything up. He was chasing down fast running backs. It's like that's another guy you can't put him on the practice squad because somebody's going to scoop him up in this league. You know what I mean? So I think that definitely earns him a spot on the 53. And then Vernon Butler, just from a sheer depth point. And, he can play also.
No, absolutely. Obviously, like D-tackle, just like defense end, is very, very loaded, at least for us. And you need that depth. Star's coming back, and hopefully, he's getting in the tip-top shape. But, we need to spell. Like, there's nothing wrong with, being able to send guys in. And I like Justin Zimmer. Justin Zimmer in the preseason, he was all over there. Like, you would just see his number. And, listen, you can appreciate guys like that. That's going to go for it. But we're closing the show down. We're at that 30-minute mark we wanted to stay at. And we're at linebacker, which, pretty much we know. We kind of knew going in. But, Matt, just talk about it quick, briefly.
Yeah, so linebacker, we had our 3 locks at least. You know what? I'm going to give it 4 locks. We got Milano, Edmonds, Klein, and then our special teams, and also, swing linebacker Tyler Matakevich, my guy.
Matt guy, man.
That's my guy. I'm not just biased. He puts it there on the field, so he makes it very easy to be biased.
Right.
But yeah. Those 4 guys were locks. Now, the 2 guys for me, I have Andre Smith making the team, the guy who took Justin Fields' head off in Chicago. And he played well in the times where Milano was hurt last year, and he had to do what he had to do. Also, he's good on special teams. Now, the notable cut, which I think is the biggest controversy in my list here, there's not a lot of controversy. But it's Tyrone Dodson. I honestly think maybe like a Harrison Phillips is going to start the season on the IR and open up another spot for a guy like Tyrone Dodson. So we may see that. I just have it, if everybody's healthy right now, this is who's making the team. So I don't think that we're going to be able to part with Dodson. I think same thing is going to be on the practice squad. Hopefully he clears waivers if they don't designate a guy like Phillips to the IR. If he's hurt, or even like Isaiah McKenzie might get designated. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was my only controversy pick for the 53 here. And then they brought in a lot of linebackers. You got other like Markel Lee from the Raiders. I think he's just didn't do enough, or he just from a numbers point, he's not going to make it.
No, not at all.
So yeah.
No. That's listen, Matt, you did an amazing job. I really don't. I don't have any complaints with the list, and we'll see. Obviously, Bean is gonna come out with it tomorrow. You'll see this,
Yep.
By the time. So you'll know. Well, if you watch it tomorrow, you'll know, or today, whenever you watch it. But shout out to Matt. We appreciate him. Listen, this is our first annual edition of our 53-man roster prediction, our special show, and I thought we did a good job. I'm gonna just be honest. And listen, we got all your content right here. We got all the content right here coming up. Check us out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, for the merch, and just for everything that we doing, all Overdue Bills. We ready for this season. We're excited. Matt, you got anything to say to the people before we get off?
No, man, just tune in, and then if you have any disagreements with who I have before Bean drops the list tomorrow, because we will be airing this today, just put it in the comments. And then we'll see how we compare, man. I don't get paid for this, so we'll see.
Absolutely.
Check it out.
Absolutely. And we always end every show with a little hey, 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 hey.
Hey.